Hi guys, welcome back to another video of the Q3 FY26 series, and in today's video we are going to be talking about Manorama Industries. And उन्होंने कॉन कॉल में एक जबरदस्त चीज बोला है where they mentioned कि like we can see this growth for next 4 to 5 years. So what do they mean by this statement? How are they going to do the same kind of growth for the next 4 to 5 years? We'll know more about this. Along with that, a very interesting thing happened is over here is that they increased the guidance. Okay, because एक चीज था from H1 when you looked at it, from the results of H1. It was very obvious कि like H2 में ये ज्यादा ही करेगा, but there was a little bit of doubt because उनका एक fractionation facility था where they're going to be doing a debottlenecking, so we weren't sure कि like maybe उसके वजह से plant close हो जाएगा, इसके वजह से maybe that's why they did conservatively. But if you look at Q3 FY26 result, what a fantastic set of numbers, right? Because if you look at the sales, that grew by 73%. If you look at the PAT grew by 131%. If you look at EBITDA margins improved from 26 to 27.5. all great set of numbers. और एक चीज क्या था, उनका पूरा ईयर का गाइडेंस था 1150 करोड़, उन्होंने 9 months में ही 975 odd करोड़ किया, right? And now they're telling we will be increasing from 1150 to कितना 1300 crores. Fantastic set of numbers. Not only that, as you know, in this year they as of this year they had 40,000 metric tons per annum का fractionation facility. And उन्होंने क्या बोला था starting of the year में, उन्होंने बोला था I think in Q2 they came and told कि like they're doing a debottlenecking, due to which क्या होगा, the fractionation facility का capacity that is there, it will increase by 30% and go from 40,000 metric tons per annum to 52,000 metric tons per annum, right? Which will happen by the end of this year, which means there will be enough capacity for the next year, that is the upcoming year of FY26-27, to sustain a very or an impressive run rate that was similar probably as of this year. Okay, but अगर आप उसका और details देखते हो कॉन कॉल में, as of 9 months if you see जो entire sales growth है, this 73% का sales growth हम देख रहे हैं as of Q3, उसका पूरा का पूरा effect आया volume growth से. Okay, because the fractionation facility के वजह से capacity open हुआ, right? And this entire 73% में majority came from volume growth, 65% came from volume growth and the rest came from value growth. Okay, and even if you look at the export domestic mix of 9 months, export is contributing 54 and domestic is 44. But again, that's how the mix has always been. And since the US ka portion is hardly 4 to 5% for them to the top line, all of this tariff and anything is not of a concern. So overall, a great set of numbers. But along with having a very great set of result, along with increasing the guidance, एक और positive surprise आया result में. वो क्या था? The company is planning to do 460 crore of Capex that is there. Now remember I told you in the beginning of the video that they're telling we can see the growth, we can see the growth for the next 4 to 5 years. Now think about it logically. Whenever you're telling me that you are able to sustain the runway for the growth, right? How can a company sustain a runway for a growth? Which means what? आपका pace of growth जो है, you have to keep it up. Now how do you keep it up? There are two most important things. One is the demand and the other one is the capex, because यहाँ का पूरा volume game है. So अगर आपको और भी the only way you can cater to more volume is आपको capacity डालना ही पड़ेगा. The first factor which is demand का यहाँ पे कोई problem नहीं. A lot of people really misunderstand that is there, Manorama का demand कहाँ से आ रहा है. Manorama क्या बनाते? Cocoa butter equivalent, which is similar to cocoa butter, but instead of cocoa butter which is made from cocoa seed, it is this cocoa butter equivalent is made from mango, salca seed, shea seed and everything. But unfortunately यहाँ पे क्या होता है, people think like cocoa का prices that is there, it has been absurdly high in the last 1 or 2 years, right? And it is falling now also. So people think like it is connected to the cocoa price, but it is not. Okay, cocoa butter equivalent that is there, उसका एक बड़ा there was a barrier. If you look at all these food products that is there, it is regulated by आपका food industry, right? Like in India you have FSSAI, abroad में you have Europe का अलग है, US का अलग है, and everything that is there. Now यहाँ पे क्या था? Earlier there was a regulatory limit that like you can use only 3% of cocoa butter equivalent in any of your chocolate या bakery product. अभी उन्होंने क्या किया? They increased it from 3 to 5%, right? So it opened a huge floodgate. See, now think about it, right? All the industry that is there, उनका एक ही ultimate philosophy है. That is, भाई मुझे मुनाफा करना ही है. Every business has one goal ultimately, make lots of profit. Now think about it. Cocoa butter equivalent that is there, it is any day cheaper than cocoa butter, right? Any day cheaper, any freaking day. But they were not able to use it because of this regulatory barrier. But now, since the big daddy only has come and opened the regulatory for you, why would I go back and go back to all that cocoa butter and everything? So that is the thing. So demand ka aap to samajh liya na ki like there is no barrier, there is no tapering down of demand. Now the second factor, where is the runway for growth? Because अभी आप बोल रहे हो कि 40,000 metric tons per annum है, debottlenecking करके आप बोल रहे हो 30,000 metric tons per annum, sorry, debottle करने के बाद 52,000 metric tons per annum होगा, 30% से increase होगा. That is what these people are telling, right? I understand that. That is fine. Which will sustain the growth for the next year. But 4 to 5 years कैसे होगा? They're putting up a capex of 460 crore, okay, which will be funded fully by internal accruals. कोई भी QIP नहीं करे, debt नहीं उठा रहे, अच्छा है. QIP नहीं करेगा तो ROE will not go down. Good news for shareholders. Now, what is happening over here? Okay, so what is happening over here is how this 460 crore capex is going to help them. Okay, this 460 crore capex mein they're using it for many and various things. They're using it to make a manufacturing plant, a packaging plant, एक fractionation plant बना रहे, a lot of things that they're doing. Okay, so one such thing that is there is उनका fractionation plant, a very very important thing. They're putting up a fractionation plant of 70,000 metric tons per annum. Okay, so अभी का CBE का जो fractionation plant है कितना है, मैंने बोला 52,000 metric tons per annum. अभी मैं क्या बोल रही हूँ, fractionation plant क्या डाल रहे, 75,000 metric tons per annum. 1 second, अंजलि कुछ मत करना 10 मिनट के लिए, जस्ट आप वहां पे बैठे रहो, कुछ मत करना. So anyways, coming back, you will see what did I tell you कि 70,000 metric tons per annum का एक नया fractionation plant डाल रहा है. So what is this? You might think कि 52,000 है, अभी 70,000 है, मतलब क्या capacity double हो रही है? No. But they are making, when I tell no, again don't get a heart attack. So what is the 70,000 metric tons per annum ka? What are they doing? They are making this component called as EOSS. Now if you put this in Google, EOSS डालो, Manorama Industries डालो, आपको full form मिलेगा, आपको chemical compound मिलेगा, everything you will get. Okay, but what exactly is this EOSS? That is something I will try to explain you. But I mean, I don't want to bore you like a chemistry teacher over here, because let's be very honest, we are investors, we are here to make money. What is this EOSS that is there? Okay, ये EOSS क्या है? First let us understand कि ये cocoa butter equivalent जो है, like I mentioned you, how is it made? This mango seed, shea seeds आप collect करते हो, उसको grinder में डालते हो, extraction process से उसका तेल निकालते हो. Now this alone doesn't become equivalent to cocoa butter. And एक चीज है, cocoa butter, what makes this, why is this demand for cocoa butter? Like what makes cocoa butter so freaking special that is there, right? Cocoa butter, why is it so special, right? Cocoa butter का speciality क्या है? Whenever you mix cocoa butter and make a chocolate or anything, chocolate का क्या खासियत है? If I keep it in freezer, it becomes hard. If I melt it, it melts. If I put it in my mouth, it melts. That is like a very unique part of chocolate. And what makes it unique? The cocoa butter. जब आप cocoa butter को chocolate में डालते हो ना, it gives this unique structure कि like keep it in room temperature, it is solid. मुंह में डालो तो कि like melt होके it is the best thing you ever put in your mouth that is there, right? Only thing, wish chocolate had protein, but unfortunately life is not fair. But anyways, coming back to the point. Now the entire thing is I have to make this mango seed से मैं जो बना रही हूँ ना, I have to make it like cocoa butter. इसके लिए मैं क्या करती हूँ, पहले मैं करती हूँ mango seed को extract करती हूँ, उसको तेल निकालती हूँ, and then there is something called as palm oil fractionation. Okay, now here is where it gets interesting. आज मेरा भी बत्ती जला. Okay, palm oil fractionation क्या है? In order to make, is palm oil fractionation में क्या होता है? Whenever I have to make a cocoa butter, I have to add something called as palm oil. But this palm oil that is there, it has a lot of bad friends. Okay, one of the bad friends is glycerol. Okay, and glycerol का structure क्या है? It is what makes glycerol glycerol का क्या unattractiveness is, this glycerol has उसका bad characteristics है. Okay, which makes it like a bad friend for palm oil. Okay, उसका एक let's say उसका character क्या है, उसका एक chemical structure है, उसका bonding ऐसा है कि like the molecules are like medium soft medium, which doesn't give the same property as cocoa butter. Cocoa butter का क्या खासियत मैंने बोला, मुंह में डालो तो पिघल जाता है, बाहर रखो तो rock solid होता है. क्यों? क्योंकि cocoa butter का best friend कौन है? उसका जो best friend है, उसका chemical compound क्या है? Hard soft hard. Okay, because of which it gives that special characteristic. Palm oil का जो गंदा friend है ना, best friend glycerol, उसका characteristic क्या है? Medium soft medium. उसका वैसा bond structure है, because of which it cannot give you that that feel where if you keep it out, it doesn't become rock solid. and when you put it in your mouth, it doesn't melt. That is the worst part about palm oil. Now I have to make this glycerol जो है, जो bad friend है ना, उसको जो characteristic मुझे बदलना पड़ेगा. I have to make this glycerol from a bad friend to good friend to palm oil. So क्या हो सकते हैं? Palm oil can be similar to cocoa butter that is there. उसका उसका वैल्यू बढ़ जाता है. So now what will I do is I'll put this chemical component called as stearin. ठीक है, मैं उसमें stearin डालती हूँ, जिसके वजह से glycerol, which has a structure like medium, soft, medium, it becomes hard, soft, hard. Then वाह, palm oil becomes so magical. Palm oil is like the next big thing. Okay, so then what happens is entire process where I'm converting palm oil, उसका एक जो best friend है glycerol, उसको मैंने bad friend से good friend convert किया stearin डाल के, palm oil becomes ESOS that is there. Now this ESOS is the huge value added product. Now I take this ESOS right after the entire fractionation of palm oil, जो मुझे ESOS मिलता है, मैं कुछ में भी डालूं, मैं मैंगो में डालूं, मैं शी में डालूं, कुछ में भी डालूं, it becomes the new cocoa butter equivalent. Okay, now you understand why this ESOS is very important, right? It is, and you can also sell ESOS just like that because it is a value added product, because you're taking एक टट्टी चीज like palm oil and you're making it into like जिसका कुछ नहीं है, कुछ structure नहीं है, कुछ नहीं है, because palm oil is just liquid in room temperature or in your fridge or outside. Now I've made it by adding all the stearin and everything, I've completely changed the product of palm oil. And अब इसको मैं क्या बना सकती हूँ, उसको कुछ में भी डालूं, I can make cocoa butter equivalent that is there. Now by doing so, by making more ESOS, मेरा ज्यादा CBE बढ़ेगा, which means what, और भी मेरा ज्यादा कैपेसिटी बढ़ेगा. So this that is there is going to come, ये जो ESOS बनाने से मेरा 460 करोड़ का केपेक्स जो है, a part of that is hugely funded for ESOS, जिसके वजह से क्या, मेरा CBE that is there will increase, right? उसका production increase होगा. As a result that is there, more volume growth can come. Now this is the positive part. What is the negative part? ये जो 460 करोड़ का capex है, it is going to happen in a phased manner in 2 to 3 years. Now this is what the timeline that is given by the management. Obviously since they are putting up everything from scratch, अपना plant में बना रहे and everything, if possible sometimes regulatory approvals में delay हो सकता है, everything, there can be a huge delay and everything. As a result of that, the capex probably can take, worst case scenario, it can go from 2 to 3 years, let's say it can even happen 4 years. अगर वो होता है तो थोड़ा शायद pace of growth that is there कम हो सकता है. I'm not telling it can happen. This is the only roadblock, or I would say challenge that is there. So take everything with a pinch of salt. Yes, the capex is there, but it is very important, that the capex that is there happens in a very right and timely manner that is there in order to sustain the pace of growth. But as of now, if I look, especially when I say that the guidance has been revised, अभी 1300 करोड़ कर रहा है, right? And as of 9 months, if you look at it, उन्होंने almost कितना profitability किया, like they have done around 69-70 crores का profit किया है. They should be able to pull off, like in this entire year that is there, they should be at least be able to do 200 crores in terms of more than, कितना मैं बोल रही हूँ कि like I think almost they should be able to touch कितना, if they are doing around 200 crores in terms of profit, they should be able to do around side. I don't see why not. They should be able to do it. They should be able to do it. And if I calculate the PEG ratio comes less than 1 for what? For like for this industry that is there. And again, if I assume कि like 40-50% से ही grow करेगा even in the next year that is their FY27 because of this fractionation facility जो वो 30% से capacity increase कर रहा है, then I don't see why it would be there. Sorry, I think I told 9 months का मैंने बोला, गलत बोला मैंने, 69 crores. It's actually 173 crores. I think 200 crores they should be able to do easily, more than 200 crores possibly, right? Obviously मैं सिर्फ conservatively बोल रही हूँ, 200-250 crores they should be able to do, and the PEG literally comes to less than 1. So yeah, a lot of people will look at valuation from a wrong perspective. They will look at absolute PE that is there and will make a decision. But no, even if you take a 1 year forward PE also, I would say considering the growth rate it is less. Even if I talk about like FY26 also, FY27 also, it is quite, I would say, PEG falls less than, I would say, 0.7 or 0.8 that is there. So overall, great set of numbers by Manorama, great update that is there, great capex is happening, everything that you would want from a company, growth rate along with operating leverage, EPS ka growth, margins improving, value added product. If you look at value added product right now is 75% to the top line. As we increase, as we go, that is there, value added product ka portion will increase, right? Like because of this EOSS, more that will come, right? So overall, great set of numbers. Only thing is that the capex that is there, I hope it happens in a very timely manner. There is no delay, because if that regulatory approvals ke wajah se here and there, if there is a delay that happens, then the pace of growth can go down. That is the only worry with Manorama. Other than that, fantastic company, fantastic update. I hope all of you can go through the con call. But एक चीज है मुझे एक समझ में आया आज, because I was reading about this EOSS, उनका HPMF, what are all these things? Because earlier I knew that you mix seed oil with palm oil, that is there, and you make and you make the entire thing, right? Like you make this, but itna sara process I didn't know, and just today I got to realize ki, like, this Manorama jo hai, they tell cocoa butter equivalent, but cocoa butter equivalent is nothing but glorified palm oil at the end of the day. That is it, guys. I mean, like, it's so crazy, right? I mean, we call it so fancily ki, like, cocoa butter equivalent, but cocoa butter equivalent is nothing but glorified palm oil. I mean, it's so crazy. So, and then I also realized, like, bro, my sometimes, like, I wonder, like, my portfolio is so hypocritical, right? Because I don't eat junk food and I invest in companies like Manorama. I don't go to hospitals, but I invest in hospitals. I don't I mean, like I told you, like, I don't eat biscuit and all of these things, like, but I invest there. I don't drink, but I invest in alcohol companies. But I think that's a way of life, right? That's a game of life, that you don't give business to them, but you don't give money to these kind of businesses. You don't make money for them. Let them make money for you. I think probably that should be the motto of my portfolio. Okay, like, don't make money for them, but make money from them as the shareholders. And if you want to know, what such names are there in my portfolio, make sure to register for the Q3 FY26 workshop. So even you too can not only win the game of life, but also can win the game of market. But anyways, guys, that's that for today's video, and I hope you had a great time. Bye.